Hi, evening. I'm Rachael, teacher, healer, author, and modern mystic. I am here this evening with my divine channeled message for the month. Took last week off because, for a number of reasons, I was working every single evening, and it just gets to a point where you're going to go crazy. So, channeled message this evening. Which is nice because it's as much of a surprise for me as it is for you. What's interesting is you may have heard me say in some of the previous conversations that we've had, which is that my face is really quite kind of like plain and androgynous without makeup on, and it feels like it's a really great conduit for whoever I'm going to channel. And I was just looking at myself just now, just thinking, oh my God, who am I this evening? Hey, Angela. Yay. Hi, Angela. Who am I this evening? Who am I? What am I? Where am I? And what am I up to? So what I'm doing is I'm just chatting as I allow you guys to join and allow my connection to come in. Hi, Debbie. And all of that stuff. So whether you're on catch up, whether you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to say hi. Love to see who's about. And I also like to hear your thoughts on what comes through, because it's always interesting. It's always interesting. I'll have my own take on it, and then sometimes somebody else will have a slightly different angle. Hi, Jackie, or a completely different angle. So it's really interesting what I may take from one set of words and what somebody else may take from the same set, which is the beauty of philosophy behind our spirituality. Those of you who've done any work with me know that I'm not just about the superficial. I'm all about what does this mean? Where does it come from? You know, the bigger questions that really, I think, drive us, and that thirst for knowledge. So, okay, I'm just going to see who's about. Okay, I've definitely got a female figure. She's really quiet and she's not saying anything, so I'm just gonna try and connect in with her more. Her face is turned down, which is really interesting considering what I've been channeling today. It's almost like this this thing about women not meeting other people's gazes, not, you know, it being seen as being too forward. Interesting. She's placed her hand upon my heart. There's definitely an Egyptian vibe here. I can very much feel sort of superimposed on her and behind her. Sekhmet. And she's just still sat in silence. But her face is turned up to me now more. I think she's just allowing the connection to come in. Silence is golden, don't they say? Or so the storybooks will tell you. But I can tell you of a time, and I lived and I died, and all I did was to utter a word. My silence was my keeping. I was silent in action as well as in word. And my days I would spend staring into nothingness, staring into darkness, staring into insight. But why was I there? And what did I do? I didn't do much as far as I could tell you, because there was nothing to be seen. What I felt in my heart was that I was doing greatness. What I felt in my heart was that the words which I uttered were wonderful and beautiful and true. But they were for your eyes only. The many did not hear me or see me, only a few. And the richness that I spake was not given to the many, although it was intended for them. And so the divinings stopped. And I was left utterly alone. My task to extract the knowledge from the stars gifted me and my people nothing. And I was left alone when I was of no use. An outcast within confines. I was subject to nothing, but it was hell. I was left alone for years. And never I spake a word again, because the truths that I uttered from my lips did not want to be heard by the men. I uttered truths and words, and still it helped no one. What was the point of it all? What was the point? The point was here and now. The point was to come. The point was an understanding that I never knew. And only at this moment is it coming to fruition. For I have stood and waited for thousands of years to speak my truth. And now I am being heard. I am being heard through the mouths of many and the mouths of few. And I am being listened to. There is great strength in weakness. So they would tell you. But weakness is not something I have ever held. Weakness is a myth. It's a myth given by the many, given to the many, held by the few, to ensure your power does not reach its maximum, does not reach its peak. How else would they keep control? How else would they tell you that their lies were good? How else would they fulfill their prophecies? They did not want to hear mine. Weakness is subjective. The child is weak because it is small. A child against another child. These issues do not occur. Child against an adult is no fair match. A woman against a man, they would tell you, is the same thing. But we all know that not to be true. How can strength be measured in arms? It cannot. It is in the depth of your soul. So look within, not without, when you measure the depth of your soul. If when you see the depths of yourself and it repels you and is repugnant enough for you to look the other way, for you to turn your anger outwards, then you know that it is a shallow, shallow pool indeed. Your soul will never leave you. It will always be with you and stay. And that is the killer. It doesn't matter how much you profess. One doth profess too much. For they never spake the truth. They only spake what they wanted you to hear. Those words were lies and fallacies. And you fell for it. And now you are here saying that I don't want this anymore. I want something different. I want something more. I see myself with perspective. I see myself with truth. I see the situation unfold. And now you worry. Now you fear stepping into your power. Now there is nothing to fear. when you have stared at the depths of your soul for days and weeks and months and years. That is where real fear lays. That is where real fear lays. Not with you, children. I have seen it and I have faced it. And I will never need to go there again because it is always with me. Me. Myself. I am always there, and I embrace myself wholly and fully, and I give it as a gift to you. I take apart my soul and I sprinkle it across the universe like stardust, and each of you will suck it up, and you will be made whole, and you will know your truth. And that truth is that your soul is so deep and has seen so much that all you can do is to walk forward. You have no choice but to walk forward because you do not see it any other way. You cannot behave in a different way. You cannot act in a different way except to move forward, except to be seen, except to be shown. And as you move forward, you realize that there is no forward action. There is no forward momentum. There is only stillness. There is only stillness within the universe, and everything within it comes to you. Everything within it revolves around you. And as you stand there in the middle of the universe, allowing everything to bump and glide and ebb and flow and spark, just exactly as it's meant to be, that will be your moment of bliss. When you see everything rushing towards you and you do not fear it, but instead hold out your hands and shout hooray, that will be your moment of bliss, of ecstasy, of union with God. That will be your moment, my dears, and that is my gift to you. She's still very much here. Hey, Pat. Hey, Eve. She's still very much here, but she stopped talking and stepped away slightly. There's a real sense of a human life, and almost like a human life which became a myth. If people have heard stories about anchorites where they were given their last rites in churches and walled in, it's got that feeling about it, that story, but it's not from that time. It feels like something much older, and it might even be pre-Egyptian, where she was to divine and give messages, and when she wasn't given the messages that they wanted her to, it very much feels like she was a gifted soul known from the start, a child chosen, is what I keep hearing. She was a child chosen, and taught and trained, and when they didn't like what was coming out of her mouth, she was just left. But in that time when she was just left almost, and it does feel like a darkened room, what she did was to kind of leave her mind and instead became this unbelievably powerful being, just sat there in this darkness. And I actually think she's talking to me not from now but from then. Like, it's like she came forward at some point with healing, with connection, and just came into this moment, and she's been waiting in her mind for all of this time. I don't know if her body's physically passed, and she still carried on this mission. I would have thought that her energy is so strong and so powerful that even before she passed, she would have been, like guide level, angelic level, not a newbie, not passing over and doing what I always think we do, which is to go through like a sign off. You sat down and Michael sat behind a desk going, all right, you're back again, are you? Over that way. There's this real sense that that she was a human, and that either she lived this long life doing all of this work and like speeding on over time and space, or she just carried on doing it. And as she left, she sort of that energy of her just stepped out into the universe to a greater extent. I would think she's, and like I said, I think she's pre-Egyptian even. There's something almost, I want to say Mesopotamian or Babylonian about her energy. Babylonian, okay. Babylonian about her energy. Very interesting, very, very interesting. Very dark hair, very dark eyes, really, really long dark hair. And I see two versions of her, one very young and one maybe in her 50s, something like that. Very interesting. So thank you, Angela. Yeah, an archetype of a woman through time. Yeah, I will say that I absolutely take that. Like almost her kind of going through all these ebbs and flows. There's a shift. One of my friends was talking about there's a shift at the moment in the Lilith energy, which is that what we would quite rudely say is a femme fatale energy, such thing. You know, a woman who is attractive and gets what she wants. God damn, how dare she? So there's a big shift at the moment with the female archetype energy, and it kind of feels that for all the times when she didn't speak and when women haven't been able to speak, she's kind of been saving it up and picking all of those pieces up and going, oh, what, you lot now? There you go. Say what you need to say. And don't fear it, just step into it. But also this feeling of not just not fearing it. You won't have any choice. You'll just want to do it. You'll want to step into it. You'll feel propelled and compelled just to move forward. Thank you, guys. Thank you. She's cool. I might have a Google later over deities or mythological figures from that time period, but I don't know if I'm going to get anything, in all honesty, because it does almost feel like she was kept as a secret at the time, but there might have been myths. There might have been. And see if I can identify who she is. Give her name back. Okay, I am the storyteller and my story must be told. I used to watch that program. I did. Very strong Irish energy here. Oh, it does make me worry when I get an Irish connection like this. It makes me worry that some of my family members take the Michael, because all I can hear now is to be sure, in the way that my uncle would have done to have taken the Mickey. And other times we'd have said turty tree a turd, just to throw, particularly the English. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about, you know, that stuff that only family members can do to each other and get away with it. I am the storyteller and my story must be told. Okay, I can't get away from this. I've got an old man with me, and he has got like big glasses, like Geppetto, almost too big for his face, and his eyes are really big behind them. But he feels like a clockmaker of some type, and he's got a big wooden stick. It's not a it's, part of me thinks that he is a leprechaun, but like a much older figure. The leprechaun that I normally have with me is a much younger one, but this guy's much older, and I can't get away from it. It's somebody who's a tinker in respect that he's tinkering with things and fixing clocks and mending things, and he's got this big club, which is often associated with the leprechaun. To keep people's hands off me gold. Yeah, but that's sarcastic as well. But he's showing me through his workshop, and that it is quite dark, but there are candles, and there's a fire, and his workshop is his living room, and his workshop goes out the back, and he sits in sort of like the living area by the fire, which is burning down for the evening, in a big single armchair with a big high back. And it's very comfy. Now I've got a story to tell you, and that story is of your soul. And each of you see, have got a story to tell, and you don't tell them enough. You worry, am I talking too much? Am I talking too loudly? Who wants to hear this crud? And you forget that it's your soul. It's your soul which is speaking. When you worry and fuss over telling your stories, and you think, who would want to hear this? You forget about a part of yourself. You deny a part of yourself because you are your story. The good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful, it is all there within your story. Never stop telling your stories. They are what make you what you are. And to forget your stories is to forget yourself. How can you understand yourself if you never tell your stories? We often think storytelling is for the old, but it's not. The young have stories to tell as well. Stories of days in the park, and of fantasies in their mind, and of making dens, and of climbing trees, and of falling and hurting their knee 12 days ago, and the scar is still there. When did you stop listening to your children's tales so that they believed they didn't want to be heard as adults? When did that stop? When did you stop taking an interest? When did you stop taking an interest in yourself as you started to ignore your children? That's the question. The more you engage the youngsters, the more the truths will be told, the more they will be heard, the more that they will feel embraced, the more that they are trusted, the more that they will do and act and be in a way which shows that you trust them. And all this can simply be done by listening to their stories, listening to their tall tales, listening to their fears at night. Don't dismiss them, the fears are real. They might be of made up plans of giants and werewolves, but they are true nonetheless. Listen to your children tell their tales, allow them to rid themselves of their fear, and in doing so they will be heard, and in doing so you will rid them of their fear. For some of you it may be too late. For some of you, you may not be able to tell your stories in a way that will make your heart whole again, but don't stop it for your children. Don't stop them telling their lies and their fantasies. Our lies are what make us human, and our tall stories make our humanity greater. Where do you think the legends come from? Tall storytellers are we. Carry on telling your stories, carry on telling your tales. And the next time we speak, I will have another tale for you. It will be a tale of your soul, of how far it's come and of where it's going to go. And at that time, you will believe me, for you will have listened to your children and believed their tales. And all you have to do is to believe. That's not a fallacy, it's a truth we know. So believe the tall tales. One day it will lead you towards your own might. The end, he says with a flourish, poking his fire with a stick. It's interesting because my parents have a property in Ireland, and the old man who lived there until he passed was originally a carpenter, and in his older years he would cycle from village to village. And when I talk about villages, I mean it is up in the hills, it is out in the middle of nowhere. The local village is 20 minutes drive, about 10 minutes drive. A very long walk. Very long walk to the pub. The village, and it has 2 churches, 1 shop, 3 pubs. There was 4 pubs. And that house, that old man would cycle from village to village, telling local stories to children in the villages and places like that. That's how he added income as he got older. And it just really reminds me of that. There's a great art in storytelling. And I like to write. Those of you who know me know that I like to write. So I really love that actually we start to think people don't want to hear us and don't want to listen to us, and we don't want to bother people with our stuff from when we're children. And it starts by not being listened to and being told, oh, don't be silly, there's nothing to be scared of, and you're making that up, and whatever. Just listening to kids and letting them make up their fantasies and make up their stories. It builds for a stronger emotional stability, so that when you get older, you're able to voice what you need more. Even if it sounds ridiculous, you're able to voice what you need more, because we need it. And we all know that there's times in our lives when we do need ridiculous things. And we're just in a place where we can't cope with even basic stuff. And it's okay for us to be in those positions at times. And knowing that we can reach out for support, even if it seems like we're being pathetic, and even if it seems that we're being ridiculous, is really, really important. And that's one of the biggest issues with mental health, is how will somebody believe that I feel like killing myself or harming myself? How can I tell somebody that? And knowing that the fantasies that have been listened to, that you've told as a child, will make it easier for that ridiculous stuff that you've got in your head to come out, because you've been listened to. Also, then that thing about understanding your own journey and understanding your own story and understanding your own power and your own might. And I think a lot of that comes out when we're children and we're making up these tales. They really talk, when you listen to children's tall tales, they really tell you about their personalities and what they're going to turn into as adults. And probably connecting into that a little bit more. And he's right. Maybe, we're always going to have a little bit of a block about that for a couple of generations. But the more the next generations we come through, the more we listen to them and talk to them. It doesn't matter what crap is coming out of their mouth, that they're recognized and listened to and heard. The easier it's going to be for them, and for them to communicate and get what they need from life. That was nice. It's a really nice connection. Banshee's here as well. I don't know if she's actually got anything to say, because she's got her hand against my cheek, just making it go slightly numb. She's not a banshee that I know. She's a different banshee that I haven't had through before. She's saying, I come here either to wallow or to be in the hollow. And by the hollow, it almost feels like a hollow in a ground. Oh, wow. She said, I come here because you know my name and you spoke it. Now I am free. I actually, she's coming on the banshee vibration, but the banshees are often, from what they've told me, women who have passed and then join this collective of other women who go out and help souls pass on. And she feels like that's what she's been doing, and she's been helping souls pass on, but she's been waiting to be recognized in some way. And this evening has allowed that recognition to happen. And she touched my face to get my attention, because she was going. She wasn't staying. She'd come here to, I don't know what I've done. I don't know what I've connected into for her. I don't know what part of her story that I've told. I think it's in relation to that first lady I had through. I think it's a correlation of their story together. Like in telling that story, I've told this banshee story, and she no longer feels the need now to pass souls on. She's felt the need to pass up through the layers and on to the next part of her spiritual journey. But her soul's several hundred years old. She's been doing the banshee work for several hundred years, and she's passed on. That was fascinating. Literally, I just felt a whoosh, and it was a whoosh, and I was like, I don't know if any of you guys ever get like that tinnitus pop in your ear, and my inner ear vibrates, and she just went, and the power that surged out across the air as she went, like she went, leaving almost like this gift of energy, this gift of power. That last one, Eve saying that she felt waves of emotion. I think it's what was interesting about the storyteller is the that connection to parts of us that we're told that don't make up the fantasies. Don't make up the fantasies. Do you know what, when I teach this stuff, like, just say what's in your head, feel like you're making up stories. And often that's what I do, is I'm telling people stories back to them, with them sat there, or telling them their loved one stories back to them. And if I never believed and I never lived in the dream world that I did growing up, I probably would have a real struggle delving into that fantasy. But I did partly live in a dream world. My uncle used to call me Walter Mitty, the old bugger, because I lived in a bit of a fantasy world. I used to like, and actually it's through our imagination that spirit come through. So that ability to tell stories and to speak truths, I think is intrinsic to our soul, and I think is plug in the battery, is intrinsic to our soul, and is intrinsic to our being, and it's a way for our soul to express itself and to express our connection. And that might be creativity, and going out and telling stories, or painting stories, or knitting stories, or whatever it is that you're doing. But obviously spirituality and connecting into spirit in itself is a very creative process. This is interesting what Angela said. And the Leprechaun, a very high truth there too. It's all a story at some level. There was always creation in any and every word we speak. Yep, absolutely. 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 I remember making up tall tales for my sister, who's 18 years younger than me, and her believing them and making up creatures and stuff. And, then in her mind, those creatures are real. Those creatures are created. And she still talks about it now, like the weird animals I would make up, or creatures that I would say were living outside in the drains and bizarre stuff. In the beginning, there was the word. Yeah, Angela. Yeah, in the beginning, there was the word. And I think what's interesting is that our stories come through as a vibration. Like I can feel it, and it's interesting about Eve feeling the waves of emotion, because it does flow and move through you. It does flow and move through you, and we know that the word would not have been words. It would have been the vibration of the stories, the vibration of the universe, and the vibration of language in a way that we can't possibly comprehend. I sometimes have a bit of an insight into it, and it's mind-blowing sometimes. Sometimes too much to handle when you're getting beings downloading whole concepts and whole ideas into your head all at once. And as long as you can keep up with it, it's fine. And if you're not in the right mood to keep up with it, it's no good. But yeah, that word that transcends actual language, it makes sense. In the beginning, there was the stories, the Titans. Talking to my dad the other day about the Titans, the elementals, and that Titan energy, the elemental energy, comes through across all cultures. That before the gods, there was this elemental energy. And then stories are made up about what the elemental energy was as we try to understand it. Right, I'm going to go for this evening. I am done. I'm a little bit tired this week, so I'm going to go and sit down and probably watch a movie. We started to watch Despicable Me earlier. If my son's still awake and watching it, I'd be surprised. He's probably asleep, sat on the sofa, sucking his thumb, with it going on in the background. So, and I'll be able to then put on something that I want to watch. Although it is a good movie. It is a good movie, Despicable Me. Yeah. my 2.5-year-old can barely speak, and she just said to me before, when I was put to bed earlier, the minion farts in his butt, and I was like, that's great, the minion farts out of his butt, thank you so much. Like, I'm glad I'm glad that from this evening watching the movie, that's what you took from it, that a minion farts out his butt. Can't say much, but you put that beautiful sentence together for me. You're welcome, Jackie. I will enjoy the movie. I'll find something better to watch. I'll find a good fantasy film, actually, because I think that probably suits the vein of the evening, or something Irish. Both of those will suit. I have a workshop coming up for the end of the month, which is going to be in 2 weeks tomorrow, which is my regression workshop, which I'll be doing online. It is my most popular one, so tickets are limited. There are still tickets left. Please pick them up. It will be the last time it's this cheap. I've been doing regression a long time, and the way that I do it is very different to the way that most people do it, and it genuinely is a real experience. And since I'm stepping into my power, my prices are going up. So this is the last, and the whole point of the group workshop is that it's generally cheaper anyway, but this is the last time I'm going to do the group workshop as though as it is. So if you fancy regression in a couple of weeks' time on a Saturday afternoon, then please come along. I'll be talking about how past lives work, and doing 2 really empowering visualizations where we're reconnecting you into parts of yourself that you need now, parts of yourself that might need healing, but certainly there'll be something from that life where you're like, I need that now, that's what I need. And the point of it is to empower you, which is the point of all of my work. Thank you. Thank you, Nikki. It is, you've done it a couple of times, so it's which always makes me happy when people come back to do it, especially somebody with as much experience as Nikki has. So I'm going. I love you, and I will see you all later.